Hi everybody, welcome to Saxon's Hydrosphere. I'm Saxon and I love music and I love movies, and with this channel I wanted to create a space where both music and movie lovers can coexist, and today I'm going to be talking about the new Megadeth album, The Sick, The Dying and The Dead. So recently I made my Megadeth discography ranking video on the run up to this new album, so now that it is finally here, it's time for me to give you my review. So firstly, I've put myself in a bit of a weird position really, because if I were to say that this album is better than Dystopia, relating that to my ranking video, this would automatically put the new album at number 3 in their entire discography, which I think is a bit of a bold statement in its infancy and would be one hell of an achievement too, because I personally loved Dystopia. Personally, I don't think that this album quite lives up to its predecessor, but that's not to say that it's a bad album, because I did have a pretty good time with this record. One thing I will say that this album does have over Dystopia though is it leans explicitly further into its themes. There are a lot of songs on this album that sonically represent the lyrical concepts of the songs very well. Mission to Mars has quite a grand sci-fi adventure feel to it. The title track, just as I expected with the album cover and title, kind of gives me vibes of like spaghetti western films. And Dogs of Chernobyl, while not being one of my favourite songs, is still very thematically consistent with its slightly anxiety-inducing atmosphere, just as if there's a nuclear meltdown that's spiraling out of control. And of course, it's still Megadeth, so there are themes of war sprinkled in throughout with songs like Soldier On and Night Stalkers, which are handled really well as well. Another standout on this album for me is, of course, Kiko Loureiro's guitar playing. This is his second album with Megadeth, and his playing was a huge factor in my enjoyment of Dystopia, and that's no different here as well. He is on fire on this album. Not a single melodic passage or guitar solo goes to waste with this guy. He's utilising every trick up his sleeve to best serve these songs and their tonal intentions. And Dave Mustaine's voice is another plus for me for this album. He seems to be improving in his strength and tonality, as well as being a little bit more diverse in his delivery across the record as well. I do wish that the production had a little bit more in the way of bass, especially with Steve DiGiorgio at the helm, who's arguably one of the best metal bass players out there. But as a whole, I think it's a decently produced album, round about what you'd expect for modern Megadeth really. Where I think this album starts to suffer a little bit really is some of the songwriting overall. Firstly, some of the lyrics just aren't great at all. I don't mean to keep making comparisons, but one of my biggest praises for Dystopia was the stellar piecing together of all the songs. They all felt very fresh and vibrant, and I don't hear that to nearly the same extent on The Sick, The Dying and The Dead. There are a handful of songs on this album that kind of feel a little bit similar and do blend together a little bit, especially when you get to the really fast tempo tracks. And if more of these songs had a very distinct identity to them, like the very powerful title track, Mission to Mars, Sacrifice, and my personal favourite Celebutante, then I think this album really would stand out from the crowd in modern thrash metal. And then secondly, tying into that would be the pacing. I strongly feel like the tracklist could have maybe been given a second thought and better assembled together, because there are times, especially in the first half of the album, where two consecutive songs will have a very similar tempo, a very similar tone, and this can get quite jarring. And simply just swapping 2 or 3 songs around in the tracklist could have seriously helped this, or even resolved it completely, and made for a much more fluid listening experience from beginning to end. I do have one tiny lyrical nitpick too, and that's that this is the second album in a row that Dave Mustaine uses this kind of lyric.
If your lips are moving, I know you must be lying. When you start moving your lips, I know that you're lying.
And all I can think of when I hear those lyrics is that Meghan Trainor song that sings the exact same thing, and it just really doesn't work for me.
But I know you're lying, 'cause your lips are moving. Baby, don't you know
Seriously, that's all I can picture when I hear this, so come on Dave, pack it in now, yeah? Overall though, I do think it is a pretty decent album from start to finish, and if I were to try and fit it into my discography ranking, I'd probably slip it between either United Abominations and Endgame or Endgame and Euthanasia. Not quite sure, but it still makes the lower end of the top 10 for me, so not bad at all. And of course it is still early days, so my opinion might change given a week or two, but I'm fairly confident in my thoughts in this review. So, in conclusion, The Sick, The Dying and The Dead is a solid Megadeth entry with high standard performances, dipping its toes into provoking visual themes with the music, but not completely sticking the landing with the consistency and pacing. So that's it for my review of the new Megadeth album. Let me know what your thoughts are on this album down below. Let me know your thoughts on my thoughts, and then I can let you know my thoughts on your thoughts on my thoughts, etc. Remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this. I do movie reviews and music reviews, and I also like to rank discographies, filmographies, all that good stuff. I do occasional covers, vlogs, and I'm also working on my own music as well. If you'd like to get a little bit more involved and know me a little bit better, I have a Patreon, which I would be grateful if you were to check out, so I'll leave a link to that too. As always, I'm going to leave you with my song of the day now, which ties into the next video I'm going to be doing, which is my David Fincher filmography ranking. And in preparation for that video, I've rewatched a couple of his movies, including The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, which has one of the best and most exciting intro sequences to a thriller I've ever seen, with a rendition of Immigrant Song by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. So that is my song of the day, and stay tuned for my David Fincher filmography ranking. Thanks again, and I'll see you all next time.